It wasn't long after Damon and Gabriella had driven off that Carl drove past them to pick the others up. Jenny and her friends went crazy, pushing and shoving each other as they each tried to get the best seat in Carl's luxury vehicle.
Jenny, I really envy you having a boyfriend with such a heavenly car.
Rosie exclaimed, looking like she was in a daze.
Stop pushing me already,
Squealed Kylie as she wriggled onto the back seat.
The back seat's not going anywhere. Just let me take a pic first.
Wait,
Amber complained while she held her phone up to her face.
I've taken some and posted them on social media, so everyone we know will be so jealous.
Jenny felt giddy with all the excitement and praise. Carl pulled her toward him as she plonked herself down in the front seat. Without a second's hesitation, she tenderly kissed him on his cheek.
You're the best boyfriend. I am so lucky to be with you. I love you,
she whispered.
What more could a guy want? I have a carload of gorgeous women, and my girlfriend's the most beautiful of all of them. My mates are going to be so jealous,
Carl thought. If there hadn't been 4 other women staring at the 2 of them from the back seat, they probably would have made out before they left. Jenny had dated several men before and seemed to always know how to satisfy Carl's desires. In return, he made sure to treat her well. She started to tell him about Damon as they drove off.
Honey, do you want to hear something funny? That idiot Damon came to pick us all up in a van.
She giggled loudly and continued.
He's trying to impress me, but he's got no chance compared to you. You never have to worry about me leaving you for another man.
He's such a douchebag.
Carl responded with a smirk.
I know, right? I need to find a way to get rid of him, though.
Carl chuckled as he recalled that Jenny had had feelings for Damon in the past. The only reason Carl persistently chased Jenny was to show Damon he was a better man.
That loser was no match for me,
he thought.
Don't get rid of him yet. I want to mess with him a little first. Maybe I'll start at dinner tonight. It would be too easy.
Carl drove into the parking lot in front of the restaurant and looked for a spot close to the door so he could show off his car and the beautiful women simultaneously. Jenny spotted Damon's van parked on the roadside and snorted disdainfully.
He's such a loser. I bet he borrowed the van and he's parked there because he doesn't want it to be seen in front of the restaurant. I have no idea what the hell Gabriella was thinking when she went with him.
Camilla piped up as she climbed out of the car.
I don't understand why she'd want to be seen in something like that.
Jenny strolled up to the van to take a closer look. Without a second thought, she took her front door key out of her purse and scratched the side of Damon's van. She haughtily threw her head back as she looked around.
Don't panic, everybody. My boyfriend is very rich, and we'll take care of that,
she said, sounding snooty. Carl made a phone call once he had locked his car. After he had ended the call, he walked over to Jenny and took her hand.
You should be careful showing off like that. You don't want people to think you're a vindictive little witch, do you?
He kissed her on the cheek and left her to walk in with her friends. The group of women chatted among themselves as they tottered in their heels into the restaurant and caught up to Damon and Gabriella at the hostess's stand. Tenzel Restaurant was rated 4 stars and was a regular haunt for the group. Damon and Gabriella were chatting when Jenny and the girls walked in behind them.
Hey, Damon.
Jenny called out.
I see you're doing better than you were. You finally have a vehicle.
For a moment, Damon thought she was unexpectedly being sincere.
It wasn't that expensive,
he responded as the sales lady's comments flashed through his mind. The sales rep had said. Jenny burst out laughing.
What a joke. You seem to think you've got a luxury vehicle when it's a broken old van,
she exclaimed nastily.
I'm so glad Carl opened my eyes and I decided to become his girlfriend instead of yours.
She looked around to make sure her friends were listening.
Tenzel Restaurant is one of the Laurier's family's businesses, and my boyfriend is a manager in their company.
Jenny had purposely chosen the restaurant to show off Carl's connections, and her statement had brought the recognition she wanted as her friends started to praise Carl.
All the women on campus will be jealous of me,
she thought smugly.
What?
Damon thought, shocked.
I didn't realize this place belonged to the Lauriers.
Thomas had taken care of the acquisition of the Lauriers' businesses and properties, which meant Damon wasn't aware of everything he now owned.
For some reason, I never saw this restaurant on the list of properties I looked over earlier.
He mused. Even though it was a small business, it still belonged to him. He quickly took out his cell phone and texted Thomas, asking him to inform the person in charge to come and greet him at the hostess's table. Just as the message was sent, the hostess escorted them through to the dining area.
Thank you, this is lovely.
Damon said to the hostess as she seated them all. Jenny wasn't finished belittling him, though.
You know, Damon, I should thank you for not wasting my time.
Before she had a chance to continue, the double doors from the kitchen burst open, and a smartly dressed man walked through.
Mr. Hemsworth.
He shouted. Silence befell the room, and it seemed everyone was holding their breath. Not having met the person in charge, Damon stood up and smiled.
Mr. Hemsworth, I didn't realize you and your friends would be joining us for dinner this evening. Otherwise, we would have rolled out the red carpet for you.
The man announced with a laugh. Damon vigorously shook the man's hand, and his face turned red with embarrassment.
That's okay. I don't expect to be treated.
Before he could even finish his sentence, the group around the table started to laugh.
Oh my God, Damon.
Exclaimed Camilla in between fits of laughter.
You're very good at pretending to be someone you're not.
Amber managed to stop laughing for a second.
How can you pretend to be someone famous?
She managed to ask before doubling over once more.
Oh, this is Jenny's boyfriend, Carl Remington.
Camilla explained.
What the hell just happened?
Damon thought, feeling confused. His mind whirled with embarrassment and confusion. Carl's expression turned serious, and he gave an evil smile as he grabbed Jenny's hand.
Babe, this classmate of yours is absolutely hilarious.
He bellowed.
He thought a few words of praise meant he was actually worth something. How the hell did you think you could fall for someone like him?
Damon's more arrogant than I ever imagined.
Jenny thought as she smiled broadly and possessively hung onto Carl's hand.
Baby, I was blinded back then. Thank goodness I never did more than kiss him. Ooh, yuck, I can't imagine.
The women all started laughing again and cut off her self-admonishment. Amber whispered.
You should take a good look at yourself in the mirror.
Camilla added as she glared at Damon.
I've no idea how you can pretend to be someone you're not.
Gabriella was very upset. She was the only one who hadn't joined in belittling Damon.
Why did Jenny invite him this evening? Was it just to humiliate him? I should have told him not to come.
She thought sadly. She had heard that as a boy, Damon had been bullied because he came from a less fortunate family and hadn't had the nice clothes and things the others had. She knew he must have grown up with strong self-esteem to withstand everything he had gone through. She was about to stand up and reprimand the women on his behalf when he put out a hand and stopped her. At that moment, another man walked into the room. He strode up to Carl and pushed him aside.
Be careful how you speak to Mr. Hemsworth.
He chastised. The entire room once again fell silent as the patrons sat wide-eyed in suspense. Nobody had a clue who the expensively dressed man was. He said,
Mr. Hemsworth, I apologize for being late. I've driven your vehicle around the front for you because there's a conference that you'll need to attend a little later.
He explained as he handed the car keys to Damon. Nobody moved. Jenny and her group of friends sat with their mouths open, totally lost for words. Every one of them looked confused. Jenny gasped when she saw the horse insignia on the keyring.
It can't be.
She thought. Damon looked around the table and then back at the man.
Thank you, but I'd like to have dinner with my friends.
But the man wasn't going to be dismissed that easily. He stayed where he was and promptly burst out laughing. Carl joined in.
That was brilliant.
The man gasped.
What did you think of my performance, Carl?
He asked in between fits of laughter.
You should be given an Academy Award. You are awesome!
Carl announced as he clapped loudly. The restaurant's patrons slowly started understanding what had been going on. It appeared a prank had been played on the guy named Damon, and several started wondering how someone so important had no idea who he was talking to. Carl spoke once again.
Do you even know what this logo is?
He snapped as he jingled the set of car keys.
Go back to your old van. It suits you.
Damon, even though we were classmates back in high school, I have no desire to have dinner with you.
Jenny said with a flick of her hand.
Please leave. I don't think Carl should have to pay for your meal either.
Damon's anger exploded and he clenched his jaw. Gabriella was just as livid.
Jenny!
She burst out angrily, but Damon interrupted her by putting his hand on her arm. She couldn't believe what had just happened and how Damon had been publicly humiliated.
This is insane. What the hell's wrong with these people?
She wondered as she tried to bring her anger under control.
What's he ever done to them to deserve to be treated like this?
What she didn't know was that Damon was a VIP, but the ignorant women had yet to discover that. Once again, the doors burst open, and several men strode into the dining area.
Mr. Hemsworth, are you here?
One of the men asked, looking around.
Not again.
She thought, feeling speechless.
Is there ever going to be an end to this nonsense?
Mr. Hemsworth, you should have given me warning that you were coming here for dinner.
The man in the front said. Carl stood in a daze of confusion.
I don't know who the hell this man is. He's not part of the act.
He thought.
Mr. Hemsworth, I'm Sky Laurier.
The man said as he introduced himself to Damon.
And I'm Sean Laurier at your service.
Announced another man, who then stepped forward and shook Damon's hand.
Adam Handley.
Announced a third man, who also stepped forward to shake Damon's hand. The color drained from Carl's face as he looked mortified and stumbled backward. Adam was Carl's immediate superior and the person who had introduced him to the